that Bhishma departed for the spiritual world. On Tuesday, 27th of January, 2026, is the disappearance day of Madhvacharya, the Founder-Ācārya of our Sampradaya, of the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. On Thursday, 29th of January, is the disappearance day of Sri Ramanujacharya. On Thursday, that's Wednesday. On Thursday, 29th of January, is Ekadasi, is a fasting for Bhaima Ekadasi, also fasting for Varaha Ekadasi. On Friday, 30th of January, is Varaha Dwadasi, the appearance of Lord Varahadeva. And next Saturday is Nityananda Trayodasi, appearance of Nityananda Prabhu. Ram Raghava, would we be able to observe a program next Saturday? Would that be possible?
What time?
What time would you suggest?
Same time would work.
8 o'clock?
Yes, 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time.
Okay. So next Saturday, we'll be observing Nityananda Trayodasi at 8 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time, which would correspond to 11 o'clock Eastern Time. Everybody is welcome. At this point, we can proceed with our reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. We have some selected verses to pick up from last time. Incidentally, I just want to make a brief announcement. I want to thank everybody because, as some of you know, I had some health issues for the last 2.5 months, and I greatly appreciate all the sympathies and prayers and good wishes from many of you and all kinds of devotees. It is greatly appreciated. I'm getting some help from various medical practitioners, and as my health improves, I will try to eventually activate this class twice a week, but for now, we'll have it once a week. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam.
Excuse me, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Just one thing. Can I play the Jai Radha Madhava?
Yes, of course. My apologies. Thank you.
Sai. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prem se Gaur Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta ki jai, Sri Radha Krishna Gaur Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giridham ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadvip Dham ki jai, Swami Bhaktivedanta ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Jamuna Mai ki jai, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Swami Bhaktivedanta ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Ram Raghava Prabhu. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskrityam, Narayanam namaskrityam, Naram cheva narottamam, Naram cheva narottamam, Devim saraswatim vyasam, Devim saraswatim vyasam, Tato jayam mudirayet, Tato jayam mudirayet. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. We will proceed with our verses for today. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, text number 34. Shibiraya ninishantam rajvabadvari pumbalat praharjunam prakupito bhagavan ambujikshanaha. Shibiraya, on the way to the military camp, ninishantam, while bringing him, rajva, by the ropes, badva, bound up, ripum, the enemy, balat, by force, praha, said, Arjunam, unto Arjuna, prakupitaha, in angry mood, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, ambuja ikshanaha, who looks with his lotus eyes. Translation by His Divine Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhupāda. After binding Ashvatthama, Arjuna wanted to take him to the military camp. The personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, looking on with his lotus eyes, spoke to angry Arjuna. Can you move the text, Prabhu? Thank you, Rupa Goswami. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Both Arjuna and Lord Sri Krishna are described here in an angry mood. But the difference is that Arjuna's eyes were seen to be like balls of red copper, whereas the eyes of the Lord are described as the lotus. This means that angry mood of Arjuna and that of the Lord are not on the same level. The Lord is transcendence, and as such, he is absolute in any stage. His anger is not equal to the anger of a conditioned living being within the modes of qualitative material nature, because he is absolute both in his anger and pleasure are all the same. His anger is not exhibited in the three modes of material nature. It is only a sign of his bent of mind towards the cause of his devotee, because that is his transcendental nature. Therefore, even he is angry upon many a body. The object of anger is blessed. He is unchanged in all circumstances. Text number 35. Menam partarasi tratum brahma bandhum imam jahi jaso anagasa suptam abadit nishivalakam menam. Never unto him, Partha, O Arjuna, arahasi ought to tratum, give release, Brahma bandhum, a relative of a Brahmin, imam, him, jahi, kill, ja, he who has, aso, those, anagasha, faultless, suptan, while sleeping, avadit, got killed, nishi, at night, balakam, the boys. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Lord Sri Krishna said, O Arjuna, you ought not to show any mercy for his releasing this relative of a Brahmin who has killed innocent and sleeping boys without any fault. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Brahma Bandhu is significant. A person who happens to take birth in a family of a Brahmana but is not qualified enough to be called a Brahmin is addressed as the relative of a Brahmin and not as a Brahmin. The son of a high court judge is not virtually a high court judge, but there is no harm to address a high court judge's son as a relative of the honorable justice. Therefore, as by birth only one does not become a high court judge, so also one does not become a Brahmin simply by birthright, but by acquiring the necessary qualification of a Brahmin. As the high court judgeship is a post for the qualified man, so also the post of a Brahmin is attainable by qualification only. The Shastra enjoins that even if such good qualifications are seen in a person born in a family of other than a Brahmin, the qualified man has to be accepted as a Brahmin. And similarly, if a person born in the family of a Brahmin is void of Brahminical qualification, must be treated as a non-Brahmin, or in better terms, a relative of a Brahmin. Lord Sri Krishna, the supreme authority of all religious principles, the Vedas, has personally pointed out these differences, and he is about to explain the reason for this in the following slokas. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Gurave Namaha Bhagavad Vandana Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadate Visheshataham adadana strinam danter idam yachi punaha punaham Srimad Rupa Padambo Jatulisyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavato Smyaham Sadadasu Asmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Prishta Satkaromisvam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Before beginning discussion on these specific verses, I just want to point out and offer my respectful obeisances to all of you and to all Vaishnavas, even Vaishnavas of other camps, with whom we may have philosophical differences. In particular, I want to point out my good friend Ishan Prabhu, whom I first met in Montreal in 1969. And I had the privilege and the opportunity to go on Sankirtan with him very early on. I think I was 17, 18 years old at the time. And I must admit my debt to him for the tremendous help he gave me right from the beginning. And also, I want to point out a few Prabhus here. We have a Prabhu in Oroville, California, Dr. Ram Singh, who is actively engaged in distributing the Srimad Bhagavatam, and we are very much indebted to him for his transcendental efforts. We also have Krishna Katha Prabhu between California and Colorado, who is also busy with the distribution of the Bhagavatam. We have in Malaysia and Singapore, Swarat Prabhu, who has active classes on Srimad Bhagavatam, who has a very nice Sangha of Prabhupada Nugas over there, or Vaishnav followers. And we have Neil Shyama Prabhu in Florida, who actively preaches there. Vijay Pandit Prabhu in Italy also is engaged in distribution of Srimad Bhagavatam. And I want to point out Gornitai Prabhu in Prince Edward Island, Canada, who has a very nice Varnashan program with his good wife, Lal Gopal Mataji, and another devotee, Abhiram Thakur. He's doing very exemplary work, following Srila Prabhupada's instructions on Varnashram. And there are many, many devotees who are part of this program. For example, Dharma Bhavana Prabhu in Texas, who is very active in preaching and distribution of books. And Ram Raghava Prabhu in Georgia, Rupa Goswami Prabhu in Bombay, Virabhadra Goswami Prabhu in Bangalore. So many devotees, and we encourage all of you to continue your efforts in the distribution of Srimad Bhagavatam and attending those classes. I want to point out the original efforts of a devotee in Bangalore named Venkat Bhatta Prabhu, who originally helped to set up these programs along with Vishwakarma Prabhu, and we're very indebted to his transcendental service. He's still very active in Bangalore, along with some of the local devotees. He regularly goes on Sankirtan in the streets to distribute books, and we're very happy to have his association. Joseph Felici Prabhu and his good wife, Karen, thank you for attending. Molto bene, molto bene. And everybody who is attending. Now we will proceed with a discussion of this particular verse and why these two verses are very important. For one thing, we see here that Srila Prabhupada in text number 34 is pointing out the difference between the eyes of the Lord and the eyes of Arjuna. In this particular purport, Prabhupada is explaining this means that angry mood of Arjuna and that of the Lord are not on the same level. The Lord is transcendence, and as such is absolute in any stage. His anger is not equal to the anger of a conditioned living being within the modes of qualitative material nature. In one of Srila Prabhupada's purport, it described Harihi Nirguna Sakshat. Sakshat in Sanskrit means always, that Lord Hari is always transcendental, nirguna. We find in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna many times explains that he is transcendental to this material nature. This material nature comes from Krishna, but he is always detached and transcendental to the material nature. Today, being the appearance day of Advaita Prabhu, an illustrious member of the Panchatattva, it's very important to understand his position. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the first 14 verses, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes the position of the members of the Panchatattva. When it comes to Advaita-Ācārya, he's describing him as Mahavishnu. As we read earlier, Advaita-Ācārya creates this material world. He is the agent for Krishna, Mahavishnu. He is also considered an incarnation of Sadashiva. So it is a very, very special position. In the next text, text number 35, we have a situation where Prabhupada is explaining the position of Brahma Bandhus. When we first went to India, to South India in 1972 in Bangalore, we had the occasion of meeting with many different persons. Shivites, Smartas, Mayavadis, Karmis, Jains, Buddhists, Christians. In particular, we would meet many caste Brahmins. Some of them would protest. Why are you wearing this Brahmin thread? You cannot wear Brahmin thread because you were born in a family of Shudras. I said, sir, you should be corrected. We are lower than Shudras. We were born in a family of Yavanas, meat eaters. But by the influence of a pure devotee, Tasme Prabha Vishnavin Namaha, in the second canto of Bhagavatam, there is description of different races. Kirata, Hunindra, Pulinda, Pulkasa. So many different races are given, lower than Brahmins, lower than Shudras. But all of them can be purified by the influence of a pure devotee of the Lord. That is the power of the pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada. Now, this is a very important point, because this misunderstanding is still very strong, this hereditary idea that one is a Brahmana automatically if he's born as the son of a Brahmana. That is not a fact. Prabhupada used to often quote, Kalau Shudra Sambhavaha, Samskarat Bhavet Dvijaha. And Kali Yuga, everyone, or is that verse that we were quoting? Let's read the translation. Kirata Huna Andra Pulinda Pulkasha Abira Shumba Yavana, members of the Kasha races and even others addicted to sinful acts can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord. Due to his being the supreme power, I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto him. In many different lectures, Prabhupada also explains that due to the powerful influence of a pure devotee, all of these lower races can be brought to the platform of pure Vaishnavas and Brahmanas. There are many verses to support this. Unfortunately, the stubborn caste Brahmanas will not accept this. But Bhagavad Gita described Chaturvaranyam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasaha. It doesn't say by birth. As a matter of fact, Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada preached very strongly in Bengal in the beginning of the century on this specific point against the caste Brahmanism prevalent at the time. If one is born in a Brahmin family, that is good. That is very nice. Oh, thank you, Neil Shyama Prabhu, much appreciated. Janmana Jayati Shudraha. By birth, everyone is a Shudra. But by undergoing the purificatory ceremonies under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master, one may become a Brahmana. And when one knows the Supreme Spirit, he actually becomes a truly learned Brahmana. By birth, everyone is born a Shudra. Samskarat Bhavet Dvijaha. When he goes to the spiritual master and the spiritual master initiates him, At that time, his second birth is there, Dvija. Dvija. The birds are also called Dvija because they get twice birth. Once they come as eggs, the form of birth in the egg, and then when they come out from the egg and the shell, break the shell and come out, that is real life. Similarly, we are in the egg, within the shell of ignorance. So when we come out from the shell of ignorance, that is our second birth. The first birth is by father and mother, and the second birth is by the spiritual master and Vedic knowledge. There is also mother. The Vedic knowledge is mother, and the spiritual master is the father. So samskarat bhavet dvijaha. By birth, everyone is Shudra. But by undergoing the purificatory ceremonies under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master, one may become a Brahmana. And when one knows the Supreme Spirit, he actually becomes a truly learned Brahmana. The spiritual master trains the student gradually. That is called initiation. That is called Dvija. Janmana Jayate Shudraha. By birth, by the father and mother, everyone is Shudra. It doesn't matter where he takes his birth. Not that only India they are Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Everywhere. Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 13. According to the three modes of material nature and the work ascribed to them, the four divisions of human society were created by me. And although I am the creator of this system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. In the Bhagavad Gita, you'll find that these four systems of social division, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, they're all over the universe. Not that, don't think that it is in India, everywhere. So samskarat bhavet dvijaha, by reformation, by following the regulative principle of how to elevate oneself to the knowledge of Brahman, that is called samskara. There are 10 kinds of samskaras, reformatory. This Vedic system is a very scientific system to elevate the humankind to the highest perfection of life. So samskarat bhavet dvijaha. Then when the samskara is given, when the spiritual master sees that this boy is now competent to study Vedas, that requires a qualification. A Shudra is not allowed to study the Vedas. There is restriction. Sometimes they think injustice, that why Shudras? That is modern convention. Actually, that is very nice. What a Shudra can understand Vedas. To the Shudra is a different type of knowledge. Just like the same thing that the 2 plus 2 in the lower class is different from the 2 plus 2 in the higher mathematics. So Shudra cannot understand. So one has to become Brahmana, Vipra at least, Dvija, twice birth by initiation. Then he's allowed to study. Then he will be able to understand the language. If it's not injustice, that Shudras are not. In this way, Prabhupada is explaining how everyone can become a qualified Brahmana by following the bona fide process of accepting the instruction of the bona fide spiritual master. There's a very interesting story that took place in Calcutta at the ISKCON Temple in 1971. One very wealthy life member who was a very one of the biggest tea merchant in India, he was a life member, and he came to visit Prabhupada with 2 Brahmins from the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. So they offered their respects to Srila Prabhupada, and then they started to argue with him. Now they were talking in Sanskrit and Hindi and Bengali, and Prabhupada at one point had to interrupt them, says, our Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not accept your conclusions. And Prabhupada quoted so many verses from Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavata, from the Puranas, and he's explaining, just like we've been reading, that Brahmana does not mean by birth. If you are born as a Brahmana, that is your good fortune, but you do not automatically become a Brahmana by birth. You have to undergo the process of reformation. And this is the greatest contribution of our acharyas, Bhaktivedanta Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Srila Prabhupada, to break open this caste Brahmanism and bring Krishna consciousness to the whole world. That even though persons like us who were born in the family is lower than Shudras. When I told the caste Brahmins, sir, we're not even Shudras. We're lower than Shudras. There's Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Then there's lower than that. The Yavanas and the Chandalas. We're not Chandalas. We didn't eat dogs, but we're lower than Shudras. So that is the mercy of the Acharya, the powerful Acharya of the Brahma Sampradaya, Gaudiya Sampradaya's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, who brought this divine process that anybody could become a bona fide student, a follower, and a disciple of His Divine Grace by following the transcendental process that He's given. Now, this is very important because we have seen so many different controversies, misunderstandings, misrepresentations of the teachings of Srila Prabhupada since 1977. But Prabhupada left us the solution. He left us all the answers. Are we willing to take the necessary steps, to take the necessary process to understand how to understand these various issues completely and properly? This is very important because we see that many people, despite so many years of practice, so many years of chanting, so many years of doing some kind of service, they still do not get it. It does not penetrate the heart. Many times as part of this program, we've discussed that verse from the Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, Nasochati Nakankshati, Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu, Mad Bhaktim Labati Param. How does that pure bhakti manifest in the heart? How to get that pure bhakti? This is the entire purpose of this reading and discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam. How to develop, to increase and understand the process of bhakti, practice the process of bhakti in association with like-minded Vaishnavas and Bhaktas, so we can increase our service to His Divine Grace and to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and His divine associates. We can open for discussion now. Oh, there's the verse, actual verse. Let's read the translation. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. It was very interesting when Prabhupada was finishing his conversation with these caste Brahmins, because they were quoting so many Sanskrit verses, and Prabhupada kept refuting every one of their objections. Every one of their objections. At the end, they had to admit they had no more arguments. Why? Because this is the position of the empowered representative of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay, we can open discussion, Ram Raghava. I think Neil Shyama Prabhu seems to have his head up, but you can manage the
Go ahead, Neil
discussion.
Shyama.
Hare Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Welcome back, everybody, and thanks to Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu to have reinitiated these discussions. We were talking about Sri Advaita Acharya, and when one reads the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is interesting to note is that even though Sri Advaita Acharya is considered to be an incarnation of Sadashiva and he's the incarnation of Vishnu, even his what you call lineage, as we call, Prabhupada describes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's one which is a bona fide lineage and one which is a not bona fide lineage, where it has gone into a certain oblivion. And he talks also about how this branch of Advaita Acharya, for not having followed his original instructions, ultimately dwindled and kind of disappeared. So it seems to be like whenever we see any major Acharya, that there seems to be two schools, one which follows the Acharya's words promptly and correctly, and who maintains their vitality and maintains their goal and reach their goal, which happened even with Srila Prabhupada's Guru Maharaj, which is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati also. And same with Sri Advaita Acharya, and now we're seeing it with Srila Prabhupada. What are your comments on that? Hare Krishna.
Well, Srila Prabhupada has written extensively in the Chaitanya Charitamrita on this specific pastime of Advaita Acharya, how 3 of his sons deviated and 3 of his sons remained true to his teachings. And Prabhupada commented about the institution of his Guru Maharaj that broke apart after his disappearance in 1936. And there is elaborate discussion on this in his Chaitanya Charitamrita purport in chapter 12 of the Adi Lila. Now, we're not going to go into discussion of every single issue here, but suffice to say that Prabhupada attributes his success to following faithfully the instruction of his Guru Maharaj. That was his basic explanation, and he quoted that verse, Yasya Deve Parabhaktir, Yasya Deve Tata Guru, Tasyete Katitahyartaha, Prakasante Mahatmanaha, from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, which means that those who have firm faith in the instruction of the Acharya and the Supreme Lord, for them, all the purports of the Vedic literatures is revealed. Now, this process is not simply an academic process or simply meant for those who are highly intelligent. That is not. The devotional process given by the Acharya is a process of surrender to the Acharya and submissively hearing from the Acharya. Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all the imports of Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. So this is a very important point. In 1976, one sannyasi went to Srila Prabhupada and asked Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, why is it that this institution of your Guru Maharaj experienced so much difficulty after the departure of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada? And Prabhupada's explanation was, you cannot make a perfect man. You cannot rubber stamp a perfect man. And Prabhupada explained how after the disappearance of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, some disciples try to make one Acharya artificially, and Prabhupada says, you cannot do that. And then some other people took everybody to court. There's many, many different interpretations. But the fact is that you cannot artificially rubber stamp a pure devotee Acharya. That was Prabhupada's basic conclusion. Just like it's the same basic principle what we read today, the Brahma Bandhu principle. You cannot artificially claim to be a Brahmana by birth. A person has to be actually qualified. One time we were in Sri Rangam, and we were introduced to a very elderly Brahmin, and he was dressed in tennis clothes with his tennis racket. He says, I have to go play tennis, kindly forgive me. And our host, who was a descendant of Gopal Bhatta Goswami, the main priest of the temple, mentioned this as well. It seems that some of our Brahmins these days have problems. Then another time we were in a place called Kumbakonam in South India, and we passed by some shop. There was a coffee shop, all Brahmins, with big tilak drinking coffee. So I remarked to a local devotee, why they're drinking coffee? This is considered intoxication. Why? He says, oh, they do that nowadays. So just because one is born as a Brahmin does not automatically make one a Brahmin. In Prabhupada's example, if one is born as the son of a high court judge, he does not automatically become a judge. Now, it's a good position to be in. It's a very advantageous position, and one can be highly respected as the son of the honorable justice, but he's not qualified to sit on the bench. That's why Prabhupada insisted that people who become initiated, they should wait for 6 months to a year, get the first initiation, and then afterwards, after another 6 months or a year, they can receive Brahmin initiation. Thank you. Here's a very another interesting quote from Srila Prabhupada from chapter 9, text 14 of Bhagavad Gita. Srila Prabhupada explains, the Mahatma cannot be manufactured by rubber stamping an ordinary man. His symptoms are described here. A Mahatma is always engaged in chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord, Krishna, the personality of Godhead. He has no other business. He is always engaged in the glorification of the Lord. In other words, he is not an impersonalist. When the question of glorification is there, one has to glorify the Supreme Lord, praising his holy name, his eternal form, his transcendental qualities, and his uncommon pastimes. One has to glorify all these things. Therefore, a Mahatma is attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Very interestingly, when Prabhupada introduced the Ishopanishad in Los Angeles in July of 1970, he introduced the Ishopanishad, and there were many women disciples there in the room, Kaushalya, Srimati, so many women disciples, and he had all of them chant together. Now in South India, they will not teach women Ishopanishad or the Vedas. This is the stricture that they follow, so-called follow strictly. But Prabhupada introduced women. He had women doing deity worship. In India, in major temples like Udupi, Srirangam, Kumbakonam, Vrindavan, Dwarka, you will not see women pujaris. No, at home they worship, but Prabhupada basically explained that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings are for everyone. Everyone, men, women, children, everyone. Interestingly, when I was first married in Los Angeles in 1970, when I went to India, one devotee asked me, why don't you go ask Prabhupada? My first wife left. She disappeared at some point in Berkeley. When I was in India with Guru Kripa, what happened, one devotee from Bombay had been giving sannyas. His name was Biharilal Swami. He was a follower and associate of Siddhaswarup Maharaj or Prabhu at the time. Good preacher, very intelligent devotee, very good Brahmin. So he had been born in Canada, like myself. And he said, well, why don't you go ask Prabhupada for sannyas and we can go to China and preach there, open the movement. I said, okay. So then when I went to see Prabhupada and asked him, Prabhupada looked at me and he stared at me very intensely and he said, do you chant your rounds? I said, yes, Prabhupada, I chant 25 rounds a day. He says, oh. He said, have you read my books? Which books have you read? I said, Ishopanishad, Easy Journey to Other Planets, Bhagavatam, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Bhagavad Gita, and whatever you have written. I've read everything and I study them every day. He says, you understand? Who is Krishna? And Prabhupada was leaning over the desk, staring at me like a laser. He says, Prabhupada, you've explained in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I'm convinced of this beyond any doubt. Prabhupada said, yes, I'll give you sannyas. Later on, the first wife showed up in Bombay. He says, I want my husband back. People said, you can't. He took sannyas. And Prabhupada called me in the room. He said, you want to go back to your wife? I said, no. He says, okay. And then Prabhupada said, you have to understand, and all of you leaders, says these women have as much right to live in any of my temples as any one of you. You cannot disrespect them. They have as much right to stay there, to practice, to chant, to take prasadam and do service. None of you should disrespect them. Prabhupada was always very respectful to his lady disciples. As a matter of fact, in India, oh, here we are. The women are doing nicely. So why are they being changed from the Pujari to the Sankirtan? These things should be done by the president. These are internal things and you should not interfere. This is from a letter from Prabhupada to Hamsadutta in Vrindavan on 12th of September, 1974. Please accept my blessings. I have just now received some letters from London from Madhavananda and others brought by Paramahamsa Swami, who was there. Regarding Madhavananda being the president, if you received the vote, why you have opposed? You must be impartial. My recommendation is that he must be the president. He has been chosen by the vote. And I'm giving the casting vote for him. He's doing things very nicely there. So he must be the president. Prabha Vishnu should go on Sankirtan, and Madhavananda should be president. Everything must go on. The women are doing nicely. So why are they being changed from the Pujari to the Sankirtan? These things should be done by the president. These are internal things and you should not interfere. I do not approve of your changing the women. It should be the choice of Madhavananda, who should be the Pujari. Interestingly, in India, when we had these big Pandal programs in the early 70s, mid-70s, Prabhupada had women like Kaushalya, Yamuna, so many of these women do the artik. And many of the Indian ladies loved it. Many of the Indian devotees loved it. Prabhupada did not go by the stereotype idea and opinions of caste Brahmins. This is another thing. We have the term Brahma Bandhu. Somebody remarked recently, now in our movement, we have Guru Bandhus, Sadhu Bandhus. If one wants to take a position and receive worship and claim titles, you should be first qualified, just like a person should be qualified as a high court judge or a bank manager before he's in that position. Anyway, I'll shut up now. Maybe Prabhu, Ishan Prabhu, maybe you can address the point we were discussing earlier about bhakti and the meaning of that verse, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. If I may interrupt for just a minute, I did want to give a chance for Ishan Prabhu to say something too. But three things. One, I wanted to acknowledge in the beginning, as I mentioned, when I gave the introduction to Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, I mentioned Ishan Prabhu is also present. Also, I would like to acknowledge a senior disciple, Mother Ruchisha Mataji from Montreal, I believe. She's also present. So thank you to her. Secondly, I wanted to encourage everyone, please don't hesitate to raise your hand. Just press the link for the raising hand button. You're welcome to ask questions or make comments. There's nothing that you will be looked down upon. You can ask anything you like for the discussion. And thirdly, I wanted to give Ishan Prabhu a chance to say a few words and welcome him. It's so nice to see him again. So go ahead, Ishan Prabhu, if you'd like to say a few words.
Srila Prabhupada says repeatedly that Krishna consciousness is a science. Why to be a Brahmana is not a material designation. To be a Brahmana is to have certain qualities according to the three modes of material nature. So why is Srila Prabhupada creating a society of Brahmins? Not so people can have designations and think of themselves as better than anyone else, because as spirit soul we're all the same. The qualification of the Brahmin is pointed out in this verse, Mad Bhaktim Labhate Param. Why is that? A person in the mode of, before Krishna says this, he says, the quality, if we look at Bhagavad Gita 1842, the first quality of the Brahmin is internal peace. Samodamastapashocham. The Brahmin is self-satisfied. If we look at the verses that precede Bhagavad Gita 1854, Krishna is explaining in 51 to 53 what are the qualities that have to be cultivated in order for one to attain the Brahma Bhuta platform. So, Srila Prabhupada's first sentence in the purport to 51 to 53 is that when one begins to understand the science of Krishna consciousness, he keeps himself in the mode of goodness. And if we look at the word for word in the 1851 to 53, we'll see that there are words like Shanti and what does Srila Prabhupada say in his word for word? 24 hours a day, he's absorbed in internal peace. And that this is progressive. As it deepens, he begins to understand. A Brahmin begins to understand his spiritual nature. Prasanatma, he becomes joyful. Now, and what is the result of becoming joyful? What does joyful really mean? It is not joyful because I have achieved my goals in material life. It is not joyful because I have a new house, a new car, a new wife, a new apartment, a new vehicle, a new job, $1 million. It is joyfulness of the spirit. So this joy, what is the result of this joyfulness of the spirit? The result of this joyfulness of the spirit, Krishna says, is nasochati nakangshati. The modes of passion and ignorance are hankering for something external and lamenting over the loss of something external. But one who is fulfilled within his heart, who is joyful, who is filled with internal peace, the quality of the Brahman, he can let go of his attachment to material things. So this is part of the science of Krishna consciousness. And as long as one is looking for his fulfillment in external things, he cannot become a devotee because material attachment and devotional service are mutually exclusive. So that's why we have to come to the Brahminical platform. And what is another quality of the Brahmin? When he understands his own internal beauty, samasarbeshu bhuteshu, he sees the beauty in everyone. Srila Prabhupada often says, Atmavan manyate jagat. We see the jagat, we see the world in terms of the condition of our own mind, the condition of our own heart. Therefore, when we understand our own person, what is the symptom of one who doesn't see his own beauty? He's envious of everyone else, because this is the way the material nature works. So, we were talking about this verse. So Srila Prabhupada, he wants us to take that to become a Brahmin is not to mean that now I have a higher material designation. It's not a material designation. It's a description of the qualities that enable one to, the material qualities that enable one to become a devotee of the Lord. So this is very important that we understand what a Brahmin really is. And it means that we have to aspire to live on this platform, the platform by which Mad Bhakti Labha, now one can be devotional. Now, what is the qualities in the mode of goodness is that Srila Prabhupada explains in the Nectar of Devotion in his preface. What is this idea that we all have the ability to love? He explains one loves his country, one loves his family, one loves his society, one loves his nation, so many things. He says, but the idea is that one has to transfer this loving propensity to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his pure devotee. So, the ability, and Srila Prabhupada explains, what is this love? It's to take happiness, to take pleasure in the happiness and well-being of others. So this arises out of the mode of goodness. This is the demeanor of the heart that can be transferred to Krishna and Krishna's pure devotee, to take happiness in the pleasure of Krishna, to take happiness in the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada. This demeanor of taking happiness in the pleasure of other, when applied to Krishna and his pure devotee, is called bhakti. So bhakti begins from the mode of goodness. And that's why Srila Prabhupada wants us to become Brahminical. I'll stop there.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Ishan Prabhu. I'm sorry, I apologize to Mother Vatisha. She has had her hand up quite a while, so I'll give her a chance to say something.
Tu peux parler, Regissa, tu peux parler.
Yes. You sent many links about the reading we had today, and I really appreciate all the links you send. And I read in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.12.7, Srila Prabhupada, he says that death generally involves remaining in trance for 7 months. So when we say in trance, that it means meditate on Krishna?
That is your question?
Yes.
Well, the situation in the womb is not a very happy situation.
Mm-hmm.
The child in the womb, the baby in the womb, is not free to move. He's literally in the prison for, as Prabhupada described, for so many months. And his senses are not fully formed, not right from conception, but afterwards. So it's a situation where it's a very, very troublesome situation for the baby, especially in Kali Yuga, because many of these babies nowadays are being aborted. It's literally infanticide in the name of so-called reproductive rights. The other day, somebody was talking on a weather channel, and there was a piece of news that somebody was saying, well, women are being deprived of their reproductive rights. Well, this is a fancy term to mean that their abortion rights are being denied by some people. Yep. Well, it should be denied because it's infanticide. But the baby in the womb for so many months cannot move there until he's released. And it's a lot of pain. We see in the Bhagavatam, in the 7th canto, when you look at the whole description, from conception to birth, there are so many difficulties for that child. And the mother also, giving birth, is not easy. It is not an easy situation. It is painful. So this is the situation in the material world. That's why Prabhupada so many times in different lectures was explaining Janmamritu Jaravyadi Dukkha Dosha Nudarshanam, that intelligence means to understand the pain and misery of accepting birth, death, old age, and disease. Just like for the last 2 months, I've had a lot of health problems, health difficulties. I can't just wish it away because I have a body which is subjected to the influence of material nature. Of course, we learn from Srila Prabhupada we have to tolerate it or be patient and everything, but you can't just pretend that it's not there. Old age is there, disease is there, death is there, and birth is there. And it's a very uncomfortable, difficult situation. That's why if one is a little intelligent and fortunate, if he hears from a pure devotee about that difficult situation, he should start the process of developing the bhakti so that he doesn't have to again suffer. So at least if one is not complete at the end of this life, he'll get a better situation to make further progress on the path of bhakti. This is very important. That's why Prabhupada used to tell devotees, respectful to Brahman, respectful to cows, respectful to everyone. This is a very important point. That's why in the beginning of this program, I made a mention about a devotee in Prince Edward Island, Eastern Canada, Gaur Nitai and Lal Gopal. Now, they live for many months of the year in a very difficult climate. And I know that. I was born in Canada, in Quebec. Quebec also has its own weather, but Prince Edward Island has its own unique weather. And they know. But despite all difficulties, they're engaged in a very exemplary first-class program of farming, cow protection, preaching. And it's very, very devotees like that Prabhupada is very happy with people like that. Same thing with that devotee near Quebec and Ontario, Ramananda, the relative of the former temple president of Montreal. He's another one. He puts posts on Facebook protecting the cows, the bulls. The family is engaged in growing crops. This is the avant-garde of preaching. Very, very exemplary. And same thing for these devotees in South India going out, preaching in the streets for hours and hours, distributing books, talking about Srila Prabhupada, all the efforts of all these devotees, all of you. Prabhupada is very happy. And before we conclude the program today, I just want to point out, I don't know if anybody, Ram Singh, Bhakti Ram Singh has the slide of the Bhagavatams for anybody who would like to participate in the Bhagavatam distribution. Our distribution manager, Ram Singh, is very active in Oroville. He has a very nice temple there preaching, and he has a substantial number of books that we still need to distribute. So we invite everybody to participate and help of the program. Please contact Bhakta Ram Singh. His email address is simple as Bhakta Ronald Singh, SINGH @gmail.com. Contact him or contact any of us, and we'll put you in touch to help participate in this very noble endeavor. Merci beaucoup, Ruchisa Mataji. Ta question est très appréciée. Hare Krishna.
There was something else.
Okay.
Prabhupada said a second body was given by the Lord to Maharaj Parikshit. It does not happen very often. Maybe Maharaj Parikshit was very special.
Well, the story of this Leela here, that Ashvatthama killed the 5 sons of Draupadi, and then Uttara, and then her pregnancy, Ashvatthama tried to kill the pregnancy to finish the dynasty of the Pandavas. And Krishna protected her. Krishna, there's a picture in the Bhagavatam of an embryo, the pregnancy, Uttara is there, and Krishna is there protecting. He's there giving his special protection. So Krishna can protect anybody under any circumstances. Very, very special Leela. As a matter of fact, and some of the emails that I sent as part of this program, there are many, many different citations from Srila Prabhupada where he explains the context and many of the associated incidents of this particular Leela. Next week, maybe we can get into this in more detail, but it's just a very interesting situation. How Krishna protected Maharaj Parikshit. Yes, Prabhu, Ishan Prabhu, please, go ahead.
Forgive me for getting so excited. Mother Rochisa asked that question. It's a coincidence that just yesterday I read about this whole process. Srila Prabhupada explains that when people who are in the higher planets, their Sukriti is exhausted, they've been there, then they have to come back down to earth again. So they come down in rain. The spirit soul comes down in the rain. And the rain then nurture the crops, and they become things that we consume, edibles. And then the edibles and the spirit soul enters the body of the man, the human being on the planet Earth. And then that spirit soul then becomes contained within the sperm of the man. And when the husband and wife conjugate to create progeny, and the sperm and the ovum or egg are come together, then the spirit soul is living in there. And for the first 7 months, what I was reading, I can't remember where I read it. For the first 7 months, Srila Prabhupada says, the spirit soul is not conscious. It's in a dormant situation. And then in the last 3 months, then the real miseries begin. And at that point, he may, if he's fortunate, he will begin to pray to the Lord, to Krishna, please take me out and let me not forget so that I can become a devotee. So this whole process is going on.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Hare Krishna. Can I add something? So that is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the third canto, where Kapila Deva is instructing his mother, Mother Devahuti. So if anybody's interested, you can look up in the third canto. I also wanted to ask for a few words. I know we're getting to the end of the class, but I wanted to ask Vijay Pandit Prabhu and Krishna Prabhu to also say a few words. They're also very instrumental in the Hare Krishna Society and in the Srimad Bhagavatam publication. And so, one of you please say.
Prabhuji, you need to mute others so that you don't echo. We hear a lot.
Okay. Vijay Pandit Prabhu or Krishna Katha Prabhu, if you could please unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Jai, first of all glories to Srila Prabhupada. We would not be here without him, gathered together in this wonderful spiritual forum. And thank you to Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu for having the strongest desire to continue such a wonderful online program. You know, I guess the most encapsulated, simplest takeaway from today's verse was nicely said by Ishan Prabhu. Nice to meet you, Prabhu. All glories to your many years of service. And he said, we're all the same. Spiritually, we're all the same. So this completely takes away any birthright of Brahmin or whatever. It is all by qualification and not by birth. We are all the same. It takes away any question about a Mataji performing pujari work, cooking for the deities, or giving a class. It just takes all of that away because it's by qualification. And when Ishan has said that we're all the same, that Ishan Prabhu said it. It's exactly what leaps us out of the mode of ignorance and passion and places us nicely together in community. That we're all here on this reading and discussion to advance our understanding and our realizations of who and what Krishna is. And so I appreciate that your participation, Ishana, thank you. And everyone on the call, we have 51 at one point or more. I mean, this is just such a wonderful relaunch.
53 people at one time.
53 at one time. Thank you, Ram. One last thing that is important to mention, that the books that we had printed, the Srimad Bhagavatam first canto, 3-volume set, exact replica of the wonderful book that we are reading from, that Prabhupada brought with him in trunks on the Jaladuta. The reprint is a beautiful rendition, exact replica. It is the printing, the paper, the binding, the cover, everything is absolutely, they're treasures. And I know that sometimes we think about, but I want to order a case, which would be 20 sets, but the shipping. So I want to put it out there that soon I'm going to take a road trip. I'm just right in the middle of sorting my mother in Colorado. But as soon as that's over, if I can get closer to you, the shipping will be less money. Or if I can personally hand them to you, that is to my benefit because I get to pay my obeisances in person. So I will make some announcement at some point soon. So have that in your mind, everyone. that it only costs $8 to ship one set by media mail. $8. And but a lot more to ship 20 sets. So if by chance Krishna arranges, which I'm praying for, that when I'm distributing large quantities throughout the lower 48 states, sorry, Ambika, David, I'm not going to Alaska, but we can still ship them to her. But the point though is, or Hawaii, but this kind of traveling Sankirtan is how we all remembered the movement that Prabhupada started, distributing his books in every town and village. So this is the goal. So keep that in mind. As soon as I have a route, I will share that with everyone. And if I can, zigzag my way through across from West Coast to East Coast and back again, and personally hand you 20 sets or 10 sets or 5 sets or more, you just let me know and I will do it. You have my word. That is my promise to all of you and to His Divine Grace. Thank you for letting me speak. Hare Krishna.
Another quick thing, Venkat Bhatta Prabhu pointed out that on YouTube there were 15 people, so 53 people in the Zoom meeting and up to 15 people on YouTube at one time. And speaking of traveling Sankirtan, I would like Vijay Pandit Prabhu, who actually is doing that in his RV, traveling around in Italy, distributing Srila Prabhupada's books in English and in Italian. So I would like him to please say a few words. Vijay Pandit Prabhu, if you could please unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna, dear Prabhus. So nice to see you all there, all here. My God, it's a big mercy. And usually I don't speak. I don't like to speak. I like to listen. This is my nature. What can I do? But in the last months of December, by the mercy of the Vaishnavas here in front of us, Krishna gave me the service to distribute 2 original books of Srila Prabhupada in Italian language that personally I translated, and by the advice of Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. And so anyway, so the marathon, Christmas marathon, I usually distribute books far away from my home, 150, 200, 250 kilometers far away from my home. And I stay in my RV, sometimes also 2 weeks without coming home. So to have enough water to live for these 2 weeks, enough water, enough gas for heating, cooking, and fridge and everything. So during the day, around 11:30 in the morning, I leave my RV and start to distribute books door to door in big cities, in small towns, everywhere. So I make from 11:30 in the morning till 7:30 in the evening, non-stop. Sometimes I stop for 1 hour to take some cookies that my wife is making, or some fruit, some dry fruit, and pray a little, and then I go out again. And in this way, more or less 7 to 8 hours a day. So by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and the Vaishnavas here present, in December I could distribute 1,100 books, or maybe more. I don't remember actually. And I never gave so many books, never. I'm a book distributor since many years. I was distributing ISKCON books and subscription to Back to Godhead, mainly subscription to Back to Godhead in Italian language. But then I had this occasion, and to distribute, to bring original books to the people, you can't imagine how beautiful it is. You have the full mercy of Srila Prabhupada in this service, and I could feel it every moment. And when the people start to read the title of the book, original book, wow, Easy Journey to Other Planets, they was really attracted to take this book, because these people are almost at the end of their searching, material searching. They are not satisfied. and they're not satisfied with this and with that. And slowly, slowly, something is waking up in their mind, and they want to find the truth. So Prabhupada is bringing them the truth. I'm acting as a postman, Srila Prabhupada's postman. Actually, I feel his I don't know, his bag full of books, and he is distributing the books. But at the end of the day, when you come back to IRV and you distribute 50, 60, 70 books, it's wow. You say, I didn't done this. I didn't distribute these books. How I can distribute these books? I'm not able to distribute these books. How? It's possible. So many books. And then you understand it's only by the mercy. And Srila Prabhupada, Nityananda Prabhu, and the Vaishnavas here present. So there's a big need that these people are waiting for the original books of Srila Prabhupada. They are waiting. So we have to carry on the mission of Srila Prabhupada. This is what I want to say.
Thank you, Vijay Pandit Prabhu. Unfortunately, we have come to the end of the class, and I have to go take care of a few things. So I would like to ask Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu to please make the final announcements before I play the Kirtan of Srila Prabhupada.
I wanted to thank everybody who attended, especially our good friend Ishan Prabhu and all the participants. Next Saturday for Nityananda Trayodasi, according to Mayapur calendar, we will have our program at 8 o'clock in the morning. We will read about Lord Nityananda, lecture by Srila Prabhupada about Lord Nityananda, and also Bhagavatam reading discussion. But again, this is very important for everybody. Please encourage your friends and other devotees to come. No restriction. Everybody can come. Hear Srila Prabhupada. Try to participate and let us hear from His Divine Grace and try to make progress on the path of bhakti as kindly given by His Divine Grace. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Vamshi Vadan Prabhu also has his hands raised up, so I'll give him one chance.
Okay.
If he wants to say anything. Vamshi Vadan Prabhu, please unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Please accept my humble obeisances. Prabhu, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Prabhu. I have put the question in the chat. I will just read. So this is a letter to Saradiya, Los Angeles, 12 December 1968. To answer your second question, you should know that Arjuna and Kunti Devi are not in Krishna Loka. They are eternally associated with Krishna only in the material world. Just like Krishna is always in the spiritual world, so similarly he is always in the material world, and his pastimes are going on there also. In the material world, Krishna also has eternal associates such as Arjuna and Kunti Devi. There is difference between the body and the soul of Arjuna and Kunti Devi. But although Arjuna is with Krishna in innumerable different material universes at one time, still there is one spirit soul who is Arjuna. This spirit soul expands into many different bodies, and thus you can understand that there are also incarnations of devotees as well as incarnations of Krishna. This is the power of the spirit soul, that it is unlimited. Such conception cannot be understood while one is still in the conditioned state. Prabhu, my question is like, if there is one spirit soul, so it is expanding into different bodies. So do all those bodies also have spirit soul, or how it is like, Prabhu? I could not understand.
Could you rephrase your question again?
Yes, Prabhu. So here it is written that, but although Arjuna is with Krishna in innumerable different material universes at one time, still there is only one spirit soul who is Arjuna. The spirit soul expands into many different bodies. So my question is like, all that many different bodies, so they must also have soul, or how it is like? I am confused in this, Prabhu.
Well, Prabhupada is explaining in what you read there, there's one Arjuna, one spirit soul that expands. We have to understand that the associates of Krishna either in the spiritual world or in his little material world, are not conditioned living beings. They're not mundane living beings like us. We are Baddha Jiva, conditioned souls. These are Mukta Jivas. They are liberated, they are eternal associates of Krishna. In other words, in the spiritual world, there is the associates of Krishna. But in the material world, for Krishna's Leela, Krishna will not have an associate of Krishna who is an ordinary conditioned soul. That's what Prabhupada is trying to tell us, that the Arjuna is a special soul who expands, that one individual Arjuna, with wherever Krishna has his transcendent Leela. That's all Prabhupada is trying to tell us here. It's very clear in what you've read there. Simple.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much for that. And now I'm going to play the Kirtan with Srila Prabhupada. I would like to ask Bhakta Ranil Singh Prabhu to please put his contact information in the chat box if anybody has questions on how to get the books. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like these are trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Again, thanks everybody for participating in this lively program. And we invite all of you to join us again next Saturday at 8 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 o'clock Eastern Time. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Rama